All right, guys, it's our pleasure to say our next guest is now an official UFC Hall of Famer, a host from Inside MMA and a former UFC heavyweight champion. You know him from Pancrase, Here Comes the Boom, and his awesome commentating from Pride and other organizations. Bas Rutten, welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Just yeah, life is good.
Life is good.
Well, I bet it is. I mean, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show. Now, this past week, the MMA world remembered Bruce Lee as it's 42 years since the legendary figure passed away. You wrote in your Facebook page some of the influence Bruce had on your career. But for those who didn't see it, Bas, how much of an influence did he have on your life and fighting career?
Well, everything. He stopped the bullying. He stopped everything. I was bullied as a kid. I had bad skin disease, and when I saw Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. And I was 12, and that I saw right away. If I become like that guy or can come close, then the bullying will stop. I guarantee you that.
12 years old and you see Enter the Dragon. Did you have to sneak in for that one?
That's yes. It was in France, and in France it was 17 years and up. So my brother and I both sneaked in. We were on vacation there in France. So we got in. We got in.
Whipped out the fake mustaches. Now, Bruce was no doubt a pioneer in a lot of ways, one of the first true mixed martial artists. Do you think if he was around today in his prime, he could have found success in the UFC?
Yeah, as a coach in his prime, we never know. He never really competed. He fought other masters and things like that, but never in competition, so we never know. But what we do know that he was a freak, and I mean that in a good way, that everything he did full blast. I mean, I was looking at his diary because his daughter, Shannon Lee, she showed me the diary because I was interviewing her. And it was these little notebooks that he had, and it was like 1,000 one-finger punches, 1,000 left hooks, 1,000, and I mean everything was like the minimum amount was 1,000. So he practiced a lot, and all his rituals, his sit-ups was like bizarre, like 1,000 sit-ups also. The guy was really pushing the limits. And if you look at the book, The Tao of Jeet Kune Do, if you really look at the book and you see what submissions he's got, it's the craziest thing. He's got everything, including leg locks. He was far ahead of his thinking. I truly believe he would have been the biggest fan of mixed martial arts.
Oh, for sure. We had Gene LaBelle on the show last year, and he spoke about the greatness that is Bruce Lee. Now, let's talk about your UFC Hall of Fame induction. The weekend that you were inducted was the UFC 189 weekend. It was also International Fight Week. It's been over 16 years since you fought for the company, and nowadays you're busy with projects relating to movies, TV shows, and of course, Inside MMA. But what was it like to be back around the UFC atmosphere at the Fight Week festivities?
It was a really good week also to get there. I said if I want to see one show this year, the UFC, watch it live, it's going to be the McGregor fight. I really want to see that. I was really looking forward to it. And then I got inducted to it, so that was even better. All the Irish fans, I mean, these guys are so crazy and all funny. Like there's not an angry guy. They're all drunk and everybody's happy, It is So everywhere you go in Vegas, it's all these guys singing, they got the face paintings. It was hilarious. It was a great week, great fans, to hang out with all these people, doing the autograph sessions and like question and answers and all that kind of stuff. And then the induction, of course, it was really top notch. They really took good care of me.
Oh, wow. Sounds like a great week. Meanwhile, it's winter here in Australia. Me and Dennis stayed indoors, watched the rain, and played board games. So it's good. We're glad that you had a good time, Bas. Now,
it's here. I'm sitting outside in the sun.
Yeah, you're one of, in Vegas, of course. You're one of the most iconic and beloved personalities in MMA. However, in regards to the UFC, you only fought twice for the company. Obviously, both wins. One of the times you won the heavyweight belt, but you fought most of your career in Japan. Were you at all surprised when you found out that you were going to be inducted this year?
Yeah, I was. I really was. I thought this was going to take longer if it was going to happen at all, but because, like you said, only 2 fights in the UFC. And I thought maybe later, because I do a lot of commentating. I'm kind of the ambassador also, I was all the way there in the beginning and maybe bringing the word out and that all combined together in the future. Maybe it gets me in because some other fighters, you got the Mask is in it. You got the other great contributors to MMA are in it as well. So, yeah, but then they actually invited me for the fighting career, and I guess it's the fights I had in Japan also against UFC guys who were doing really well at here at the time, and I beat those guys in Japan. So they put my fighting career together, and I guess they counted the Pancrase fight, so that was awesome.
Let me ask you, Bas, you and Dana White seem to have a very good relationship, from him surprising you on Inside MMA with your induction to him always saying good things about you in interviews. Just wondering, when did you guys first meet, and what is it that keeps your relationship so great?
It's been a long time. I know him for a long time, all the way back in when Chuck Liddell came over to the Prize Fighting Championships. He was there as well, and we just never had a word. Listen, I never did business with him, but in any business, everybody wants more money and more this and more that, and I understand that, but if you were the businessman yourself, you probably would be you would act the same. So are there other things? Of course, there's always other things, but with him, I never had a problem, so I don't have a problem with somebody that I never have a problem with, and it's not like we don't address things. Don't get me wrong. Like on Inside MMA, we have many times, because people say, oh, Inside MMA is in with the UFC, many times that we would pull up a subject and we say, well, this is not cool what they're doing. We've been doing this all over the years, but we're just honest. We listen to them, we listen to the other party, and we explain both ways. That's what the press should do, present it both ways, and that's it, And if you, as press, it's very hard to choose a side, of course, because you hear two stories, and then you say, okay, well, this is what he says, this is what he says. I can give my opinion, and that's what I do as well. And it will be an honest opinion as well. So, yeah, that's the thing. We need, I never had a problem with him, so why would I have a problem with him?
Yeah, makes sense. I'm curious, Bas, how does it feel now the weekend's over and everything and you're officially in the UFC Hall of Fame? How does it finally feel to be inducted? And do you feel like your career is sort of, complete now that you've accomplished everything?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And it's really cool to see people on the street, people who I get recognized a bunch, but it's not like lately this week, people come up to me and they congratulate me, so more people are watching it, I guess, and they just come up to me. Maybe they didn't know me but now they saw me on at the UFC, and they come over now suddenly and say, "Hey, congratulations! I saw your induction." So people who are, "Hey, Hall of Famer," it's really cool. It's I really enjoying it.
Oh, for sure. Now, you get asked this all the time, but now you're an official UFC Hall of Famer. Are we any closer to seeing Bas Rutten commentate a UFC event?
They asked me that question also there at the UFC.
Oh, we're not the first.
Yeah, right now I'm commentating for the World Series of Fighting. It's I like to commentate everywhere. I have no, how you say it, an exclusive contract. If they ask me one time, hey, can I jump in? I can jump in. I think right now the commentators at the UFC, they do really well. They have a great team, but you never know. God knows what the future brings. I'm a very busy guy. Doing TV, and I got my gym, and I got a whole bunch of other things. That O2 trainer I do a lot of stuff around it. So, to be a full-blown commentator for the UFC, you're doing like 30 shows or even 20 shows, that's already going to be hard. But I would love to do a commentator fight, of course, because it's the UFC. People always say, but if we talk about a fighter who says, no, I don't want to go to the UFC, I say, okay, that's like an NFL, a football player say, I don't want to go to the NFL. It is right now the biggest organization on the planet. So it's cool to be there. They got a lot of people and crazy fans.
Yeah, maybe for UFC 200, they can bring you in as a third man. I think it'd be down to you or Don Frye.
Would be something. Together. Take Don also.
I think you guys would take over. I think Goldberg and Joe Rogan would just be sitting there in silence, and they'd just be amused at everything that you guys would say.
It's going to be one laugh fest, I can tell you that. But I always try to keep it light. But once the fight is serious, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I always throw the jokes in once something gets boring or nothing happens. And I just try to entertain the people at home. It's not even trying. I would do this at home.
Yeah.
Start talking whatever comes up. Sometimes people come to me and say, "Man, you were singing a Justin Bieber song." I was singing. I don't even have a clue that I'm doing that. It's probably in the background and I'm singing with it or something. I don't know.
It's good that the mics are on. Now, when you fought Kevin Randleman at UFC 120, something we mentioned before, and you won the heavyweight title, it was already fairly late in your career. I think it was one of your last fights, but the UFC was still only in its beginning stages. When you look at what the sport has become now and the amount of events that take place, and even the expos like International Fight Week, what goes through your head when you see the magnitude of what the sport has become?
It's just the craziest thing ever. If you go to the weigh-ins, I mean, I think 6 or 8 thousand people were there at the weigh-ins. When I was fighting, we had the weigh-ins in a hotel room, and you had your corner with him. He had his corner, and then the other two guys got called in. And that's how it went. There was absolutely nothing like it is right now. This is it's amazing to see. On one side you go like, would I have wanted that? But I don't know. It's they work hard, man. These fighters, it's not only fighting what they're doing. Like the 2 weeks before, they're gonna have to do a lot of social media, a lot of interviews. I mean, there's a lot of pulling at you, and that's one of the perks that we didn't have. It's great to be out there, but if you can just focus on the fighting, that's easier.
Absolutely. Now let's speak about UFC 189. You mentioned McGregor. It was one of the most highly touted events in MMA history. Tell us, what did you think of McGregor's fight with Mendes? Did anything surprise you?
No, I knew that Mendes took the fight on late notice, but these guys are most of the time, all the time training. Maybe he wasn't all the time training because he ran out of gas pretty soon. But everybody who's watching now, they're going to say, of course, we need to get him on the ground. But he was just waiting there, Conor. He was just laying there, didn't even try to escape. So that means that he was totally comfortable doing there and laying there and doing the elbows, which they thought in the beginning it was illegal, but I believe it was legal.
It was.
Yeah, it was legal. I'm just amazed with McGregor, man. Well, how can you not be? The way he talks the game, and then he backs it up, and he comes in and he steals the show. Just the fact when he stood in front of him, when they introduced him, and he opens his arms, and he stands up for 20 seconds still. The guy's an entertainer who can actually back everything up that he says. And what's not to love? I don't know people that do not like the guy.
Yeah, he's an incredibly entertaining guy. I want to pick your brain for a second, Bas, just on a couple of things in regards to that fight. You mentioned how he got taken down, he was on the ground, and he's very calm and confident. I'm just wondering if you think that's worrying at all. If, for example, a guy like Frankie Edgar takes him down, does the same thing, and maybe doesn't run out of gas. And then in regards to Chad Mendes, you mentioned how he ran out of gas. I'm just wondering, do you think that's because he didn't have enough time to prepare, or do you think it's because of the body shots that Conor was landing throughout the fight, the teeps to the body and the punches to the body?
Oh, of course, it's a great combination, and it's really good corner work there from McGregor's camp. They knew he didn't have a full training camp, okay, so that started taking the body on top of it, because otherwise Mendes, like I said, these guys normally are always in shape, especially the Team Alpha Male and the Ludwig camp, they always train. So, but a Frankie Edgar is a guy who's not running out of gas. He's one of the guys with the best stamina in MMA. And when he gets him down, can he keep him there? That's the trick. But then again, maybe McGregor was just counting on it and was just relaxing on the bottom, not wasting any energy. Maybe he was going to do that after the third round. Was he going to the championships rounds? That's when he's going to start getting back up. At this moment, he didn't really need to. He was not in danger. Although he got hit with an elbow one time. But after that, he was pretty good at deflecting all these other things. So, of course it played a factor. But like you said, the kicks to the body, that was perfect game planning.
Now let's talk about this Aldo fight. Did McGregor's performance against Mendes change your mind about how the fight's going to play out when they eventually do face off?
Yeah, no, I really do. This guy adapts the whole time, and the way he hits his straight punches, they're very straight. And I always say that when people go like, yeah, that's a logic thing. Yeah, well, 90% still has a loop in their punch. They don't add straight. If you look at straight punches, look at Mike Tyson. When you see a guy like that hit, it's like perfectly straight. You can move your head backwards, but he will still connect. If you hit it at an angle and you move your head backwards, you're going to miss because now you pass the head. So for him, and so accurate, I think that could be a really good fight. I truly believe he will get in Aldo's head and get him angry. And if Aldo gets angry, he shouldn't do that. He should really see if he can control that anger. Like Bruce Lee said, we were just talking about it, controlled anger. That's how you fight. And see if you can pick him apart. Yeah, low kicks, of course. But, I have the feeling now with the game plan, with the front kicks and everything they did, they're going to have a great game plan for Aldo as well. Aldo is an animal, though. And Aldo also will not take the fight to the ground. Even if his corner is going to say, take him to the ground, I don't think he will do it. I think it's one of those things that he wants to show the world that he's the better striker. At the game, he's the better guy at the main game from McGregor. I think that's what he wants to prove. I think this is going to be an ego thing, so it's going to be a striking war.
Yeah, I know. Well, the interesting thing is the word wrestler has been used as an insult between both of these guys. So we'll see. We'll see. I think at this point, neither one of them can really take to the ground. Otherwise, each one will consider them sort of like a coward. Changing gears, the big news over the last couple of weeks has been Fedor's decision. Well, I think the week or so, Fedor's decision to return to MMA. Do you think Fedor, returning at 38 years old, can still be dangerous as in his prime?
Oh, very much so. I was when I came back at 42, I felt great until the injuries, of course, came back. That was less, but I was going strong. I mean, I didn't do anything for 3.5 years, and I had 9 weeks to prepare, and in 4 weeks I was flying. And I go, man, this is so awesome. I feel so great. And then all the injuries came back. Fedor, if he doesn't have that, and I think that he retired because of injuries. I think that now with the rest and the here and there training, not as hard. He feels that his injuries are gone, so now he wants to make a comeback. I think he can make a big impact. I think guys like that, they always stay dangerous. He's the one-punch guy. He's got a very slick ground game. He's good everywhere. So why wouldn't he try it out? And I truly believe that he has to go, though, to the UFC. That's the one thing that you always have to do. Here we go again. It's the biggest company right now. Like I always say this, if you're a fighter and you don't want to go to the UFC, you say, no, I'm perfectly happy where I am. Well, you're going to regret it in 30 years from now because everybody's going to ask you, oh, so you're a world champion. Yeah, wow. So how many times you won in the UFC? No, I was not at the UFC. Oh, you weren't at the UFC? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. You will always have that because the difference is just way too big with the next company, and so it's the pro league, so to say. I'm saying this as football. Football, that is, you want to go to the NFL. That's how it is right now. God knows it will change in the future. We don't know. But if it does, it actually will be good for MMA as well, because then the prices for fighters will go up as well.
Oh, absolutely. And, we had his manager, Werdum, on the program last week, who actually said that the UFC has a very good chance of signing Fedor. I'm just wondering, how do you think he would do against the current crop of top heavyweights in the UFC? And do you think he has a UFC title run left in him?
I do think so. I mean, I've been watching this guy all over the years, and every time he amazes me. It's like on the ground, it's almost like he's baiting you. He moves a little weird, and you think, oh, I shouldn't do that. And the fighter who is fighting thinks the same, and then boom, there's a submission, and it goes so slick and so smooth and so fast. It's all muscle memory, and I think at his age, he has still a big run to go. He only needs to connect once. We know this. And you make one mistake on the ground as well. He's really good as well. Werdum would be a nice little rematch there.
I feel like all roads, regardless, let's say he goes to the UFC and he fights a few guys, all roads would eventually lead to Werdum, not only because he's the champion, but because, that was his first official loss. Let me ask you, because obviously he's become the champion now, he's really catapulted career, turned things around, and at his ripe age, do you think Fedor would have a shot at beating him if he got the rematch in the UFC? Because obviously Werdum's improved a lot. Do you think, Fedor coming back now could beat Werdum?
Oh, that's going to be a hard one. Because if I look at the heavyweight division, I think Werdum is, like you said, he's the guy who always improves. Every fight you see him, he's better. And he's been doing that since, all the way back. The guy gets better and better and better. So it's going to be very hard, But we don't know what was going on with Fedor when they fought the first time. Maybe there was something going on. Maybe we don't know. Fedor is not the kind of guy who says that. Like, I was injured, I was this. He doesn't look for excuses. But what if there was something that went on? And he thinks right now, okay, if Werdum is the champ, I would like to get another run when I'm healthy. Maybe something like that is happening. But then again, Werdum now, he's the much better striker than he was at the time. And his groundwork, he's the best heavyweight on the ground for sure.
Let me ask you, Bas, because obviously one of his losses was against Bigfoot Silva, and there's been some issues with PEDs. Now that PEDs are sort of a lot better in the sport, do you think that's going to be something that really helps Fedor if he does enter the UFC?
Yeah, it will help him. I also always thought that Fedor is he shouldn't be fighting at the heavyweight. The other guy's like 225 pounds. It's like, you're just there, lose some 15 pounds or something, and then fight at 205. What an animal he will be at that. But then again, he probably fights it the way that he feels most comfortable. And I think against Bigfoot, if you have a guy who cuts down from 285 to 265, and who was on the day of the fight 275 again, and then you're 230 pounds or maybe a little less, and the guy has technique and he sits on top of you and he has control. Yeah, it's a lot of weight difference.
I've got one more Fedor question. Sorry, something you said just kind of opened that up. In regards to Fedor moving down to 205, I mean, it doesn't seem like he would do it, but I think one of his strengths is obviously his speed at heavyweight, and I think maybe if he moved to 205, he may lose that advantage because the guys would be quick there already. I'd rather hear your opinion. What do you think? Do you think he could still be a force at 205?
205, yeah. Well, if Jones comes back, he's an animal too, but, when I look at Fedor, when I think about Fedor, I see him just crushing people in Japan. And if I think about him coming back, because maybe he had injuries and those were the reasons that he started losing, I don't know. But I'm just in my mind, if I picture myself that Fedor coming back, I think sky's the limit for him. Even John Jones, I don't know. He always finds a way to win. Look at the Arlovsky fight. Arlovsky was doing really good, really well. And then this one punch finished it all, and the way he punches against the Brett Rogers fight. Watch that in slow motion, where his punch leaves. Every fighter, pretty much all of them, they load up their punch. He's just holding it in midair in front of him. And from there, boop, suddenly the punch comes out. And it nails him right on the button. Super, super powerful. Drops him with one shot. So any guy like that is just a dangerous guy.
Certainly. Now, something else that we want to quickly bring up with you. We've got a couple of fan questions, and we'll let you get to teaching your class. Bas has a class that he needs to teach today. Big news that sort of happened over the last few days. Jacob Stitch Duran was let go from the UFC. He's obviously one of the most recognizable cut men in the UFC. I believe Klitschko actually bases a lot of his boxing fights around his availability because he likes him so much. What was your reaction when you saw that he was being let go by the UFC?
It was crazy. I tweeted. I didn't hear the story yet, but I just tweeted. I go, my God, this is the craziest thing. And then I read the interview that he did, which was apparently the interview to let him go. I didn't really see anything bad-mouthing in there. It was just that he said, he was upset about that, the Reebok didn't give him a deal, and that he has, it's a great piece of real estate, as he calls it, because, he's got great sponsor money, and he's going to have to miss out on that money right now. So he probably has to do some other things on the side. It wasn't like he was saying, this is all BS, and the fighters complain, and they're doing this and that, So, if it was that interview, which it was because I clicked on it where they say you can read it right here, I didn't see anything. It's almost like I'm thinking, was there something going on already before? Because if you read the interview, it's, I didn't think it was a reason to let go. I don't know who made the decision or what.
Well, we read the interview the day it came out, and then, the next day it was like, Sitch got fired because of that interview. We were like, that interview? Like, he didn't say anything really bad. It was just like, hey, are you getting money for Reebok? No. Do you wish you did? Yes.
That's it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, there was nothing bad. He didn't bag anybody, and I got way ahead. They told him already, he said everything right. I thought he did, but apparently he did not then, So it's a shame because I know Stitch for a long time, even before he started at the Prize Fighting Championship. This guy was always there, and he's such a great guy. I always call him Carlos Santana because he looks a lot like
yeah.
But such a great guy. I saw him at the UFC again here, the last weekend. And, man, it's a shame. It's a shame. I think it's a mistake. I think they made a mistake. I think that fight, and especially with the Lawler and the Lawler fight and McDonald, I mean, they did a lot of good work there, And sometimes it is, you don't see it anymore if it becomes normal. If the standard is always high and they always take care of the fighters and nobody bleeds and they can continue fighting, it's like, it's normal. Maybe you don't appreciate it as much anymore. It's like anything in life, and maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but I think it's a great loss because the guy made sure that a lot of fights could keep going in the past. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I feel like a good cut man, you're not really supposed to notice them. Another fan question, Old School Pride wants to know, and you mentioned you saw Stitch at Fight Week. Obviously, there's another guy you saw. Old School Pride wants to know, what was it like spending the UFC 189 weekend with Don Frye? I saw you watch the fights together. Do you have any funny stories from the weekend?
Oh man, not from this weekend. Don toned down a lot.
Oh man,
he's doing much better. But he also just had a cataract, so I was all red. He had this thing done in his eye, and I think he just kept it quiet this weekend. But normally, Don is always all right. Don, even my wife loves him. My wife goes like, man, this is like the most honest guy you'll ever meet. Everything is black and white with him also. If you say, like, I had to get up at 6 a.m. and I was going to eat with him something. So I said, I'm going to call you in a bit, and then we see where we can eat. But it was already like 11:30. This is in Vegas. And he went to his room. I went to my room to drop some stuff off because I just was done signing autographs or something with the UFC I did. So no, inside MMA. It was inside MMA. So we came back like 11:30. And then I'm sitting in the hotel room and I look at my wife and I say, you know what? I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to eat because then, I got to get up at 6 a.m. This is the big day. Now I'm going to be inducted. I want to keep my mind clear. So I gave him a call and I say, you know what, Don? I'm going to stay in, man. I got to get up in like 6 hours. It's going to be first an hour till I sleep. I want to get everything ready, so I'm not going to go out. And he goes, all right, good luck with that. And then he hang up. I started laughing so hard. And that is Don, he says what he wants to say at that moment. When he did a commercial for Shark Tank or for Shark Fights, he started with like, my name is Don Frye and you're not. That's how he starts. Man, if he doesn't like you, he says he will tell you he does not like you. Yeah, so it's a great guy and a great guy to have in your corner if you're in a street fight.
What a classic. Let me ask you, do you have a moment with Don that stands out to you from the time that you guys have been together, barring that fight that he had in the hotel room lobby or the hotel lobby with Dennis Holman? Are there any other moments that stand out to you from your time together that you can share with us?
Well, my first pro wrestling match that I did in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it was supposed that I was going to get hit 3 times in the head with an elbow, and on the third one I would fall and would get an 8 count. So the first was perfectly timed, and Don is in my corner. The first is perfectly timed. This is Tokyo Dome. We have like 65,000 people.
Wow.
And this guy gives me an elbow. That was good. The second one was a little harder. The third one was a full-on hit. So my automatic reflex shoots in, and I palm strike him full in the head, and the guy goes down. This is in the opening of the show. So now I'm looking at Don. Don has both hands on his head. He goes, oh, dude, he knocked out. My hand was hurting from hitting him. And I go, oh, man, I should have done that. And the referee started looking and walking around that guy. And he took like 5-6 seconds, and then he goes 1, and then he made another circle around the guy, 2, very slowly start counting, and at 8, the guy started flinching again, and then the fight continued. But after that, man, it was so funny because all these fighters, they said, "But please, watch out." I said, "It's very simple. You don't hit me hard, I don't hit you hard back, right? That's how it goes." But I saw Don's eyes. He goes, "Oh God, this is not good." But we finished, so that was the good thing.
That's good, yeah. It would have been like a minute-long 10 count. Now, Bas, you got to get to training, so we're going to finish off with the Submission Radio tap-out round. Bunch of fun questions you answer, and pretty much with the first thing that comes to your mind, nice and quick, and then we'll let you go. So the first one is, Bas Rutten has a limited time and a budget to make a dinner. Obviously, you used to be a chef. What's your go-to meal?
When I have that, I noodles. I eat noodles, yeah.
What's it like working with Henry Winkler? You guys work together and Here Comes the Boom. And did he teach you how to do the patented A?
He showed it to some people in the audience. There was a guy who had a leather jacket, an extra, and then he stops in front of the guy and he looks at him like, "Hey, dude, put that board up," And the guy put the board up, and then he goes, "Hey."
Nice. Bas, give us an update for all your fans. They're always curious. How's the body, how's the arm, and how's the neck feeling?
It's getting much better. It's getting much better. I'm training. Today I trained hard again. Today I started punching and kicking again. Well, I did 3 days ago as well, but I was in a lot of pain from that afterwards because I went full blast and it really was hurting me in my muscles the next day. But I'm training. I'm working out every day. I'm actually looking pretty good. I feel really good, and my power starts coming back slowly but surely. And you see the arms start filling up a little bit. I just made a picture of my arm in 2012, and then now the arm now, and the difference is just insane. I'll probably put that on Twitter.
Yeah.
To check it out. Yeah, it's a big difference.
Now, Bas, if you could choose anybody to play you, your wife, and Dana White in a movie about your life, give us the 3 actors. Who do you choose?
Oh man. Okay, Charlize Theron for my wife.
Because okay. She's okay. Yeah.
Safe answer.
Tom Hardy. I would like him to play me.
I thought you were going to say Tom Hardy for Dana White.
Yeah, well, he's such a tough guy. Jason Statham, of course, also a good guy to play one of the two of us. I think Vin Diesel will be a better Dana White. No, but I mean his looks. Yeah.
Yeah. Great plays Dana White. That's crazy.
Oh man, he'd have to speak in sound bites like in Fast and the Furious 7. But no, that'd be hilarious. Jason Statham, Charlize Theron, and of course Vin Diesel, and in the Bas Rutten, it'd be El Guapo, the motion premiere. Now, moving on, have you ever had to work off your back in a street fight? And is there a move that you'd swear by if someone was stuck on their back during an altercation?
No, I never did. But if it's somebody with no experience as a street guy, he's going to get submitted really fast because I grab a leg, and with the shoes, he's going to get in a toe hold or a heel hook, so he's probably going to go down really fast. And otherwise, if he's still standing in front of you, kick to the pills. That's the first thing to go for.
Yeah, don't pick a fight with Husam Paul Harris on the street if you don't have any submission defense. Now, it looks like Bas Rutten is becoming a grandfather. We saw that on your social media. What's it feel like to be a Hall of Famer and now looking like a grandfather for El Guapo? It's all happening at once.
It's that was really good news for me. It's from my first wife that I have, and I'm saying that because Renzo Gracie, he's a grandfather. He told me it was great when I heard it when I was becoming a grandfather until I started thinking. He said, because then I realized that if I'm a grandfather, I'm married to a grandmother.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously other upsides to being a grandfather as well. Second last question, Bas. When did you first do the flying splits, and have you ever had any fails or injuries from attempting a trademark victory celebration?
No, I did not. I did it first when I was like 17 or something. I realized I could do it. And I have a picture of that, actually, that my cousin made. He was a photographer. And then I did it. I just always did it for fun. I never... I fell in the splits at my first wedding, and I tore my groin.
Wow.
At the dancing. But that's it. But with the splits, jumping in air, no, never had a problem.
That's an issue on the wedding night when you tear your groin on the dance floor before you get in there. Now,
okay, because the alcohol stopped it, but the next day, I was sitting in the ice tub.
Okay, now finally, Bas, when can we expect to see you back on the screen? Any plans of doing any more movies or TV shows in the near future?
Well, there's a movie coming out, River Thief, and I play a meth dealer. I'm a very bad guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not such a nice guy in that one. It's not like Here Comes the Boom.
Yeah.
It's
Is
like
the dance? You do the dance?
It's never my fault,
You do the dance as the meth dealer?
No, they did some crazy things, but they didn't put it in there. Like there was a field, like in how you call that field that the gladiator walks in? How you call
Coliseum.
that? Yeah, but no, the field with all the when he walks, he has his hands.
Oh yeah, yep, gotcha.
But grain, right? Grain field.
Yep.
And there was a grain field there, so they said, "Man, we got to film this." And I'm walking after I killed somebody in that field, but apparently they didn't use it. It's the first movie that you're going to see in where I do a flyby shooting. I live
flyby shooting
with the plane. Turn on the side and I start shooting at the people.
It's like GTA all over again.
Yeah. I didn't know your accuracy was that good, Bas. So, guys, if you want to see Bas Rutten as an evil meth dealer, definitely. What's it called? The River?
Stealer or something.
The River Thief.
The River Thief. Okay, so definitely check out the River Thief. And of course, you can follow Bas on Twitter at Bas Rutten MMA. Make sure to pick up his O2 trainer. It's a revolutionary piece of equipment to help you improve your lung capacity and muscle endurance. Get one now at o2trainer.com. It really is a lot of success stories. Bas, we always love having you on the show. Thanks so much for coming on again.
Thank you very much. And you, congratulations too with being the grandfather and all.
Yeah, grandfather. It's an awesome thing.
It's an awesome thing. That's what it is.